Hi, everybody, welcome. I get to run my very first meeting today. I'm super excited. So I would like to call up, I believe, Jody Mitchell. The pledge and the four-way test.
All right.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And first, of the things we think, say, and do,
Is
is
it
it
true?
true?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build
goodwill and better friendships?
And is it beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, John. And up next, we have our inspiration, John Jones. All right. And check this out. This is inspiring. We have two microphones that work together.
Can you hear me? Generally, I don't need a microphone because I'm an old school teacher and can speak loudly. But I'm gonna share some things that have inspired me in my life. And this is from Uncle John, who is now 87 years old as of 2 weeks ago. So you gotta listen to Uncle John. The first thing is my little Italian grandma was in the kitchen and I was about 10 years old and getting ready to go out with a snack of some sort. And I didn't want to go out there with the snack because they would want to bite. And my grandmother very sternly said, if you have food, you share it. And similarly, my father-in-law, an old farmer from southwest Iowa, said, do your giving while you're living. Then you're knowing where it's going. Yeah, there's no point in having more zeros on your statement. Give it away while you can, you know you're doing good to people. And Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have said the same thing. They're giving away half of their fortune to various kinds of charity. That's part of the inspiration that I have for you. Another is a prayer that I use almost every day. I pray for wisdom to know the right thing and the strength to do the right thing. That's it.
All right, do we have any guests with us today?
Our speakers. We have speakers here from the Julies.
I'm sorry, we have the Julies from Pat, so they're our speakers today. We have Julie Thomas and Julie Carter, so they'll be speaking today.
We also have Judy Ano, who's on the line. Hi, Judy. She's part of PATH.
Hello.
This is Lena Traeger. She's my guest, and I'm a visiting Rotarian on the Wednesday.
Welcome.
Let's see.
But that's my next question also is, do we have any other visiting Rotarians other than Lisa? I'd like to give a special welcome to Lisa and Lena. They are my people with Pacific Aviation Northwest, whom you've all heard me talk a whole lot about. So it's really nice to see you here today. Thank you for coming. So we've covered all guests and visiting Rotarians. Excellent. Announcements. Do we have any announcements? Please go ahead and line on up over here.
Sort of an announcement of the club. So some of you are aware that there's an effort to build veterans housing in northwest part of town, Northwest Veterans Village. We've talked about it a few times. We're trying to figure out how as a club to be involved with that. And one of the ideas that popped up that's starting to get traction, we'll probably try to push it forward, is a fundraising effort around sponsoring or buying a tree that will be planted on the site. There's about 70 to 100 trees that will be planted when the landscaping is done. And that would be a tree in honor of a veteran that you know or somebody in the general public knows. So it's sort of an idea that we're moving forward, that our club will take charge of creating this fundraiser in the community, where we get people to sponsor a tree for roughly $300. That covers the cost of tree and planting. And then we will go and plant that. So, and then we'll also work through the district granting system as well to buy trees to supplement what we don't get people to sponsor. So we're moving that idea forward, so we may come to you all later and ask, is that okay? You're willing to work with that? Oh, sorry.
Hello, and as you may know or may not know. Thank you. The annual track meet is coming up. And the chair has asked me to come visit you and have you all sign up to volunteer to work on that day. It's May 10th, the week before the district conference. If you don't, I'm gonna send Nelson over to make you sign. So please, if you have time, if you can sign up, that would be great.
That's gonna go ahead and be passed around, so you feel free to sign up for that. We need to look good right before the district conference.
Good afternoon. Tonight is the Grants Pass Park, and there's 6 storytellers. They're gonna talk about something that probably doesn't happen to anybody in this room. It's misunderstandings. The theme is misunderstandings. And at 7 o'clock at Bethany Presbyterian Church, it's a $5 suggested donation that will go to our foster kids. And there's some music as well that goes along with it, and some of the stories that are lost.
Thank you, Steve. Raise your hand if you've been to the Hearth before. So I think a lot of you have been there. It's really fun. I was a storyteller once and it's a very, very wonderful experience. So thanks for the work you do on that, Steve. All right. Have I missed anything, Diane?
No.
I don't think so. All right. I'm going to gladly turn it over to Valerie Lovelace, who's going to be introducing our presenter for today.
Right, we have a couple presenters actually, instead of on the line, who also is a part of this wonderful organization. I cannot tell you, these to me are the heroes in our community. They have been active trying to help the homeless for many years and kind of started as a grassroots group that kind of came together and decided there's a lot of holes that needed to be plugged, that we have a lot of nonprofits working that nobody knows if services are being duplicated or services are missing. And so they put together this group called, I'll let them explain what it is. Who we have here today is the Vice President, Julie Thomas, and she was Vice President, but she's currently not. Yes, so Julie Thomas is President. Julie Hartford was Vice President, but she has kind of moved forward to get a new project going that she'll tell us about as well. So I also want to say Judy Anno has been a big part of it. I know she's one who first brought me in, so she's online listening. But it's a great group of people and they meet monthly. And if you ever want to know what's going on with the homeless, that's where you need to go. So without further ado, I'll let Julie come up and give her presentation.
I am just short enough that I think I'm gonna stand here. The other thing is that I always have my presentation right in front of me because I get nervous and then I focus on it. Now it's behind me. So if I turn my back to you, I apologize. It's not on purpose. It's because I lost my place. I'm going to shout out to Valerie, number one, because she's been a hero in our community for as long as I can remember. And we really miss you on the council, Valerie. So, but I also want to shout out to Doug Walker, who actually is one of our founding fathers of PATH. PATH wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Doug and his amazing work. And I missed a meeting. He called me to lunch, and the next day I was the president. 2 years ago. Yeah. I wish I knew how he did that, because I could get out of it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history. If you can go to the next slide for me.
Yes, I can do that.
Just a little bit of history about our community. I've been here on and off since the 70s. I was actually a police officer here for many years. I left the area and did international law enforcement work, and I came back, opened a security company. So for the last 30 years, it's all about safety and security in our communities, no matter where it was in the country, where it was in the world. So this is a real passion for me. And when somebody came to me a couple of years ago and said, hey, there's a small group of concerned citizens that want to come together and talk about homelessness, Because you saw what was going on and what is still in some capacity still going on. We were losing our community and we were losing businesses, we were losing jobs, we were losing families, we were losing retirees. We said we can do better than that as a community. So I was very glad to sit at the table. We're gonna switch back to.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. Yeah, I'm having a hard time. Moving to the next slideshow.
And then just click the cursor.
There you go. Okay, that's how it works. Good work, Curtis. Okay.
So this has been a growing issue for the last several years. When I was here before, it was really an easy job. Police just got involved and took care of whatever needed to happen. We'd connect somebody with a resource. If they didn't connect with the resource and they continued to cause problems in the community, then they saw jail time possibly, because it was a manageable size. It's no longer a manageable size across the country. And some of the things that we'll share is what's been the problem. Number one is we've had lack of housing for years in the state of Oregon. It's no different down here in Southern Oregon. Homeless people were camping in our parks, camping in our public spaces, sleeping in their cars on the streets, couldn't use the parks anymore. I raised my kids in that park. My grandkids haven't been able to go to the park in 2 years. That's not okay for our little town. Increasing people overdosing on drugs. I meet with the police regularly and I usually get stats from them every 6 months. They're just worse and worse all the time. And this is not a doomsday presentation. This is a, hey, we're doing great things in the community, but this is where we live. People struggling with mental health issues and no place to go, not getting the help that they need. Next slide, please. That's not gonna be able to eat. So a couple things that kind of got us there is like, why? This is small town. I mean, we've been able to manage all kinds of problems together over the years, and this one just seems so unmanageable. And why are we swimming upstream and not gaining any ground? Well, a couple things that stood in our way. One is the injunction that didn't allow the city to manage their parks or public properties. And so people now for the first time were legally allowed to camp, legally allowed to stay, legally allowed to do whatever they wanted 24/7. And we didn't have any enforcement measures. We didn't have any opportunities, no voice in the matter. So it was really difficult. Our parks have always been closed at night. We patrolled those parks all night. Nobody's been able to park there no matter what, but then it became a huge problem. And then Oregon Measure 110, I don't know if you guys voted for it or not, I think I did, because they pushed this, stop sending people to jail and let's start putting money into prevention programs. Let's start putting money into intervention and get into our schools and talk about, like, we don't even have DARE program anymore. So that's really what people voted for. Unfortunately, what it did is it decriminalized the drugs. That's the voice that the people using the drugs heard. And we started having more and more people showing up, more and more people using drugs publicly, right in front of the police, right in front of our community. And our overdoses increased as well. It also was supposed to increase beds and treatment. It took so long for us to start seeing Measure 110 dollars. We were just getting sucked into this hole with no way out. And I can't count how many times the numbers just kept going up. Like, where, what is going on? Oh, Grants Pass, we know Grants Pass is the place to go if you want to live lawlessly. Well, that's not okay. The housing crisis, again, has been for a really long time, but even more so now, because our, Doug can talk about this much better than me, but virtually no housing. What housing is available is not affordable. And Amber Neek with the city of Grants Pass, she's a housing guru, and she can talk about somebody who's even making $50,000-$60,000 a year probably can't buy a first-time home buyer house, right? So that's really a problem. And then those that are most affected, those with lower and fixed incomes, such as young families and seniors. We have lots of young people on drugs. We have kids have left high school and gone into the parks and the streets doing drugs. That's catastrophic. But even worse, we have veterans and seniors out there that are suffering under these circumstances. It's not okay. And then the elephant in the room, those who've chosen the lifestyle, and we've made it really nice for them. We have nice weather and beautiful parks and friendly community, and they're here creating hate and discontent, which is a real problem for us, for our local businesses. And you hear in the news all the time, businesses complaining about the theft, the shoplift, the assaults, all kind of crazy stuff that's going on. And then all of the assaults and crime that's occurred in either the encampments or in the parks or in the city streets, because it's just unmanageable. So we know homelessness is a multifaceted problem. Way back when, even before 9/11, I'm that old, when we had a problem, the police were in the middle of this wheel And the problems were the spokes of the wheel. And so whenever you had a problem in the spoke of the wheel, you called the police responded and took care of whatever it was. Domestic violence, fights, gangs, drugs, car accident, suicide, whatever that is. Well, then guess what happened? The police got so inundated, especially with 911, because now it's just chase call, chase call, chase call. They couldn't do it alone anymore. There was no way that they were gonna be able to do it. So the new philosophy now is you take the problem and you put the problem in the center of the wheel. And the spokes are those issues, those causes of the problems, those points that need to be addressed to impact that problem. And within that, go ahead and go to the next slide. Within that, you identify who those players are in those spokes that can impact housing, impact treatment, impact mental illness, impact domestic violence. And guess what? The police are only one spoke of the wheel. Now we have people working together in schools or in courts or in law enforcement or in soccer moms, whatever it is, all working together as a community to fight that multifaceted problem with multifaceted solutions. Some people have come together in the past, and some of us have been at the table there, and they were super excited, super mobilized to do great things in the community to impact this, but they got tunnel vision and they looked at one thing, and when that one thing failed, everybody went home. I get it, it's hard to mobilize, and then you get discouraged, and you're just like, what's the point? I'm just gonna go home. We lost a lot of people, a lot of residents, a lot of businesses during that time, and that's not okay. We can't continue to do that. So what we're doing is very different. Next slide, please. So why do we care about this problem? So what? The so what is if we don't do anything and we don't do it proactively, and if we don't do it as a community, we will fail and we will lose our community. We've already lost so much. And I could just tell you story after story, because the business we were running, we knew the people that were moving out, the realtors know as well. And we know for a fact that one of the fastest ways for a community to decline is to have good people move away, which leaves a vacuum for the bad element to come in and take over. In law enforcement, it was obvious that if a community park was taken over by gangs, drugs, violence, crime, that the fastest way to recover that park is to use enforcement in the beginning, but don't leave it there like that, right? You use enforcement and then you fill the parks with activities, fill the parks with families, with elderly, with people walking their dogs. And guess what? The bad guys don't want to hang out there. They'll go somewhere else. And so unfortunately, we're going to have that opportunity to do that. Next slide, please. So 2 years ago, actually, even though everybody's been talking about this for a long time, 2 years ago, a small group of concerned citizens came together and said, we can do better than this. We don't know what, we don't know how, but we can do better than this. And those conversations have continued for the last 2 years. And now we are a very active, relatively large advocacy and working group committed to positively impacting not only homelessness, but addiction and mental illness in our community in whatever capacity that is. We have very diverse, very different backgrounds, very different experiences, and all of them are valuable at the table to help us to get to where we want to go. So this is our mission statement. We collaborate with our community partners to find sustainable solutions to help people transition from homelessness to a self-sufficient future in Josephine County. What we don't want to do is just put a band-aid on the problem, especially if it's a gaping wound and then it's not cleaned out properly. It's going to be a festering sore. So we have to clean it out from the roots, then put the Band-Aid on it, and then it'll heal. So our goal isn't just to enable or to temporarily fix the problem, we want to permanently fix the problem. Next slide, please. So we actively support nonprofit organizations, local governments, law enforcement, any stakeholders that's working in this arena who's interested in getting involved. Even if we have someone who's retired and they want to mentor young people who are coming out of the foster care system and they're likely to be homeless or addicted to drugs because they fell between the gaps, there's something for all of us to get involved in doing. We believe in a hand up rather than a handout approach because we believe it's more sustainable, and we don't have the energy to do this every single day and not make a huge impact, right? So our goal is to work collaboratively. We don't work in a vacuum, we work collaboratively to support sustainable solutions. Again, no band-aids, just sustainable solutions to assist those experiencing homelessness, get them off the streets, out of our parks, out of their cars, into safe housing, into jobs, into treatment, into mental health arena that they need to be in so that they can become productive members of our community. We're very diverse. We are nonpartisan. We don't agree on everything, but we know that together we're better. And so we're super excited about that. I'm walking this fence all the time. Doug knows I'm walking this fence because I'm waiting for her to fall. But so far it's been working, right? And
I'm praying you don't fall.
thank you for that. I don't fall well, and we used to bounce when we were young, now we break, right? Doesn't end well. So what some of the things that we found early on is that we saw an old community resource list with about 80 nonprofits that are supposed to be working on homelessness issues. We said, how is it possible that we have all these nonprofits working in our community and we still have this problem, in spite of the injunction in Measure 110 and other factors? How is this even possible? So we set out to meet with every one of these nonprofits that we could get a hold of. Some were debunked, some didn't exist anymore. There were new ones that we didn't know about. And we met with them and said, what are you doing? What's your client base? What services are you able to provide? What resources do you have? Get to understand what spoke they're working within, and then where are the gaps? What things are not working? Where do you need the help? And with those gaps, we identified ways in which we could actually help those nonprofits better fulfill their missions. And we didn't have to be the treatment provider for a treatment organization, but we could be the one who's greeting people at the door. We're the ones that are putting together hygiene packets. We're the ones that are doing whatever it is that gap is. And we've been able to do that for the last 2 years with numerous local nonprofits. We facilitate 2 minutes, okay. We facilitate the collaboration between partners, because like Valerie said, there are so many people working within their own lane, within their own spoke, but they weren't working well together. They were so busy just doing it on their own. And so we worked really hard to bridge that gap between the organizations. We meet every month with our community partners. We talk about what's working, what's not working. They report on what their needs are, how we can help. And it's so amazing when we stand out there and a nonprofit is standing and saying, I've got a real problem. I've got this family, they're about to be evicted. They're down $1,500 on their rent. They got kids. This is a problem. We don't have the resource. And one of the other community partners in the audience goes, gotcha, got it taken care of. Happens all the time. So we're super excited about that. And we continue to make connections between those in need and those who have the resources. Because again, they're so busy just trying to survive in their own organizations. It's been really hard, but it continues to grow all the time. I'm almost out of time. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So I'm just going to read off a couple of there's pages, but just a few of our accomplishments. Because so many of the organizations either didn't have a community resource list or they had a list that was outdated, we took the responsibility to do all the homework to create a community resource list that is updated regularly, and we'll pass out cards before we go home. And it's just a QR code, and all you got to do, and if it's a homeless person, to somebody at the front desk of UCAN, a Maslow project, they just click on that and it's a whole list of resources to help with whatever it is impacting all of those areas. And it's updated all the time, and we're very happy to do that, and the organizations didn't have time. We met with the police department on a regular basis. We had huge problems at the parks with the cleanups and the needles. It was horrible. We had PATH member and nonprofit come together and actually create a park cleanup project that picked up thousands of needles, tons of trash. It was incredible. And the most exciting part is they wanted to hire employees to do that. And we said, no, the people who are in the parks need to do that. They got 60 volunteers from people who are living in the parks to clean up their parks, take responsibility, and through positive peer pressure, hold some of the others accountable as well. So we're super excited about that. We just in the last year volunteered over 2,000 hours into cooling centers, warming centers, point time count, Josephine County Food Bank, the Green Bag Project, Josephine County Library, MENT, and so many other organizations. We are providing support, filling those gaps in many ways in numerous organizations, including Maslow Project, Arts of the Mission, Death Ministries, MENT, UCAN, Hope Home, Our Foster Kids, Midroad Foundation, Gospel Rescue Mission, U-Turn for Christ, St. Vincent de Paul, Salvation Army, Recovery Cafe, and so much more. I could just go on list after list. Am I 1 minute or almost?
You're past.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
For the long 2 minutes.
What I do want you to do when I sit down and Julie's gonna come up is please look at that. The thing that's so hard for me is when we feel helpless as a community to make a difference. And that's not okay. We can make a difference, and everybody in this room makes a difference in some capacity already. But if you have any interest in getting into this area, please either come to one of our meetings. You're welcome to join. Go to our website, go to our Facebook page. We'll pass out the cards. You can look and see who we are and what we do. Connect somebody who's looking for a volunteer effort and they just don't know where to go. Please give us a call. Thank you so much for your time, and now Julie Hartford.
Oh,
Yeah, right there. And then after she talks for a minute, she might be stuck. Can you hear me?
There's a button on there, a little switch button there in the middle of it.
Okay, all right. Everybody should have a little flyer if you want to see a little bit about Recovery Cafe. And we do have a video that we're gonna start. I am the leader of a group that's looking for a Recovery Cafe to Grants Pass. And this video will kind of show you what
Video,
Recovery Cafes do.
okay, next one. Okay, TV remote. Yeah, really remote it, but how do I, oh, there we go, okay, it's rolling. Mute.
Nine out of 10 of the women and men we serve have suffered some kind of trauma. And many have suffered one trauma after another, after another. By 2005, I had a bad experience in my life where, you know, it was traumatic. I was raped, beaten, left for dead. I was in a bad place. I didn't have the courage to commit suicide. So my prayer, my bedtime prayer would be, God, you know, don't let me wake up. Just take me peacefully in my sleep, take me home. Because the life in this earth is too hard. You know, as a fight or flight. So I fled.
My kids were living in the car, and they lived in that car from July until November. They lived in my car. I could feel everything slipping away. I was losing everything left and right. That was kind of the start of like the spiral. I had a major suicide attempt. I shot up 6 cc's of bleach in my arm. I had nowhere to go. Things started coming to a head where I wasn't allowed to stay with my family, and I started using heroin. It wasn't until the day that I ran out of money for the first time and was dope sick did I realize that I'm a junkie, I'm a heroin addict, and I need to use in order to survive right now. Lost a military career to it about 12 years ago, and as much pain and stuff as I was enduring living on the street through the winter, it wasn't enough to stop.
I was walking around with nothing but the clothes on my back. I had nothing. I had nowhere to go. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. I didn't have food. I didn't have anything.
I had a duty as a father. I was a son who was a father who was losing his battle with dementia. And it was time to suit up and show up, as people would say, but I really, as an addict, I did not know how.
I think Darren was the first person I see. You know, he's like, oh, you know what Darren is. You know, they had the greeter at the door, opening the door for you and everything, and I was like, okay, these people are smiling, and that's weird, you know. I felt safe. You know, I gotta say that much. I felt safe.
Oh, I'm glad I'm here. The Recovery Cafe, it has saved my life. I showed up to the Recovery Cafe trying to just get my community service hours accomplished so I could go through the phases, and I found this group of people that understood the level that I was at, that I was afraid to share with a lot of other folks.
Somebody did care about me. Somebody made me a plate of food. That was the best soup and salad I ever sunk my teeth into, you know, and which that's kind of, I don't know, kind of a setup maybe. It's like, hey, we got food and we also got information that can help save your life. And it works.
About 17, 18 years, 5 or 6 states, and about 30 lost lives later to the disease of addiction. Finally, I was able to get out from under what I didn't think I would, and it's through programs and places like Recovery Cafe.
It's a community, it's a family. And it's a great place to grow.
I came in here for the orientation, and like lo and behold, I get told that there's some yoga classes, and there's a free yoga teacher training. The door opens at this cafe, and then this dream of mine becomes readily available to me. Not that it's just here, but that it's within my ability to pay for it, as I just need to come up with the money for a manual, and I can come here and do it on my time.
That writing class has helped me out. Like I've grown so much in that class and with the people here.
The recovery circles were just phenomenal. I was able to get more sober support. There was so many services that were offered that I would have had to access in different areas around the city that were all kind of encompassed here.
I now have a new car, which has allowed me to also drive for Uber and Lyft. Try us out for 30 days. If you're not happy, we'll refund you your misery, you know, but, and it's free. So we believe that everybody deserves a place to heal, to become all they were created to become, a place to belong.
This is the kind of stuff that happens when people get in recovery and they get in a community that's supportive of them, as these things just start to happen. Like, the world, the stars, so to speak, just align for the path to open up.
And here I am today, married and getting ready to buy a house now, and I came here homeless, so I mean, it's a no-brainer, the stuff works.
Life is so free right now. Like I've never been so happy, and I've never felt like I've had such a purpose.
This is my life in recovery. This is the way things happen to me now.
Less than 2 years ago, as part of PATH, we took a tour of the Recovery Cafe in Medford. And when we saw what was going on there, a group of us were so impressed, and we said, we need this in Grants Pass. And so we got to work. Now we are part of the Recovery Cafe network. And we're just finishing our training. We hope to open, we plan to open here in April. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Recovery Cafe network. There are 77 recovery cafes in the United States and Canada. They were founded in 2004 in Seattle, Washington. Addiction costs Oregon taxpayers $6.7 billion annually. Oregon ranks 50th in the nation in providing access to addiction treatment. 85% of people return to use in their first year of recovery. When you go to Recovery Cafe, the numbers change. 91% of members reported Recovery Cafe has helped them prevent drug relapse. 97% of members increased their desire to be in or remain in recovery. How do we do it? Our program consists of, there we go, good, weekly recovery circles. That's small groups of about 10 people led by a trained leader who is, think of kind of like group therapy, but it's just a group where they get together on a weekly basis and they talk about strategies for success. We provide one-on-one counseling. Okay, next. Yeah, one-on-one mentoring. It's not counseling, rather, it's mentoring. And these are from peer support specialists, people that have been through and are on that successful side of recovery. Next, we provide weekly wholesome social activities. Our group is committed in Grants Pass. We really want to be open on Friday and Saturday nights because there are not a lot of options that are sober on those nights for people in early recovery who can't go to the bars, distilleries, you know, or the other places to listen to live music or to get together with people in a healthy atmosphere. Next, we're going to have school for recovery classes. Those are, we won't add those right at first. We're going to have to work up to that, but those are daily classes during the week where people can come in and learn healthy living skills and personal growth things. And we have a basic framework for the curriculum about Recovery Cafe. It encourages us to base the curriculum around the needs of our members. Leadership, opportunities. It's a passion of mine to give people leadership opportunities. Every member contributes to Recovery Cafe, and that might start out with sweeping the floor, cleaning the bathroom, helping cook a meal. But what we want to do is bring them up in leadership. We want them to eventually, you know, lead a class or help with an activity. And we also want them to volunteer. We want them to go out into the community, volunteer with the food bank, volunteer with men, volunteer in the library. They need to have healthy community groups where they are welcomed, loved, known for who they are, and successful in this community besides just Recovery Cafe. Next, part of the Recovery Cafe model is to provide healthy meals. So we'll start out with, you know, just coffee and flavored waters and snacks, but we're working to where we will provide on a regular basis. We don't know what it'll look like, but a healthy meal. And that's part of the program, and we intend to do that. A lot's going to depend on the site where we open, because we might have to outfit it with a commercial kitchen. And so those are some of the things that we're working on right now, figuring out exactly where we're going to be to start. We will start in April, even if we start in a couple of borrowed rooms in churches, but we're going to get this going. And next, we connect members to services. We have partnerships that we're developing right now with various organizations in town so that people can, we can connect them to stable housing if they don't have it, to stable employment if they don't have it. And then we'll go to the next slide, but I do want to tell you a little bit more about what we are doing. It's a membership-based community center, and we will take in anyone in any kind of recovery, any kind of trauma recovery or substance use recovery. It's open to anyone, and it's a community experience is what we're offering. Members have to be drug and alcohol free to be at Recovery Cafe. Members must be part of a weekly recovery circle, and they do have to come weekly. And members will give back to Recovery Cafe in the community. So membership is free, but we expect a lot, and we intend to be there for any part of the recovery journey. And that's it. And I'd like to bring Julie up with the time remaining. We'd love to take questions. Yes.
What's your definition of drug and alcohol free?
So it can be as little as 1 day, drug and alcohol free. Yeah, but it's really important that we have that because people that are new in the recovery are very triggered when they are around people that, you know, maybe smell like alcohol or maybe are acting as though they're inebriated. Yes?
I'm curious how the two programs work together, PATH and the recovery. Cafe.
So, Julie's the president of PATH. I was the vice president. When I found out about Recovery Cafe, we took our committee that was focused on addiction and mental health services. And I said, hey, I'm gonna do this, who's in? And everybody was like, we are.
The whole committee.
The whole committee, I took over the committee, I stole them away. And so we've been working hand in hand. PATH has been getting the word out on us, they've kind of been in, we're just getting ready to kind of go public, but PATH has been supportive of us all the way. And that's just kind of how we started, and we honor that because PATH has all those connections to the community that Recovery Cafe will utilize.
So I got a question, funding model then, for the Recovery Cafe. First, I went on that tour with you all, that amazingly impressive and optimistic, they really are getting results there. I'm very glad you're moving forward. What do you see as the funding model? And specifically, is there some insurance or some pay for services model that you've been able to find?
No to that so far. That might be something on the horizon, but we're really not even looking at right now. We're funded totally by grants and local donations. I have a board of directors and myself, we're all unpaid volunteers and we're all financial contributors. We have received our first grant from the Recovery Cafe Network, and that is going to get us the starting money that we need to actually lease a space. It's not much. So also they have another grant for $10,000 that if I can find a match for that, which I am gonna start looking for also. I'm gonna be kind of particular who I use that match on because we want to have ongoing funding. We do have a website, I'm in charge of it, so it's not fancy. But there is a way to donate on the website, but really if you do want to donate, and I strongly encourage you to, the best way would be to talk to me about doing it on a monthly basis, because the more monthly donations, even if it's smaller, but if it can come in on a monthly basis, that's what we're doing as a board. That will be the money that will keep the lights on when we are able to open this spot.
Okay, back here.
I help at B Street Pantry. And yesterday we had 109 people that we handed out groceries to. It's moving up every time. Some people needed the P38s, the little can openers. Our church cannot find them. Does anybody have access to some P38s for this afternoon from 2 to 5 when our church is open to the homeless to get hygiene kits, clothing, and a little bit to eat? Anybody, the P38s, the little military surplus. I got them at Salvation Army 6 years ago or so. But I just wondered if anybody had access to it.
So one of the great things is, we have a liaison to New United on our PATH, membership. So we're getting to hear some of the needs and our people that have been able to help in the past. We weren't aware of this, and so that's something that we can bring back to our members. P38 I wasn't familiar with, if somebody else will. So we'll see if we can't help you with that for your B Street food pantry.
For those who don't know, it's a little tiny metal thing. Size of a 50-cent piece or a little bigger, but it enables people to open cans.
Oh,
It's a can.
I could go like that, right?
They're not.
They're like
fun to
little military
use.
ones.
But if somebody has, 10 of them that I could take over this afternoon for people who needed it yesterday, I would
consider that done.
Well, that's an example of the sort of things that PATH does. It's a great networking tool for those PATH.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to thank you both for what you're doing. We're so grateful. This is so needed. I was handing out food this morning for the food outreach with Mint, and a couple of things I want to ask you about, and it was the first Julie in a darker blue. When you have that
wheel up with police in the middle and all the differing things. I'm a retired teacher, and many of us are here. I cannot help but ask why you didn't have parents up there, because, we face that all the time, where it's the parenting issue that's going to contribute to that behavior. That the parents may be addicts themselves, and so on. The second one, and you could, and let me just say, and the other one is sustainable housing. Because that's a huge issue here of where do we find sustainable housing for recovering addicts, for many of our issues. So, but keep on keeping on, I love this.
Thank you. This is just a model, so absolutely, anybody who's a stakeholder, either in a positive way or a negative way, we need to bring into the fold, and we're doing that. We have a housing committee, that's working on housing issues, that was part of that originally, doing all of that exactly, and then others for addiction, others for mental health. And the organizations like Maslow Project and Hearts with a Mission particularly are working with families and parents. And they're not just helping to make sure these kids stay in school and succeed, but they're working with the parents to say, what got you into this situation in the first place? A lot of them never even had good parenting growing up, so they have no frame of reference. So they're mentoring them, guiding them, and this is one of the things we do most in our community, as you're seeing, is we don't have enough mentors to help guide people on the right path, and all they need is a little hand up, a little bit of information, help with a resume, a cup of coffee, going, I don't know what to do with my 13-year-old, and we all can do that. So I encourage you, if you're interested, and you've already paid your dues, but if you're interested, that's a huge gap that we need to fill. Thank you.
I have a question about kind of on the other end of the spectrum, and that is of the teenagers. We just opened or restarted a now teen program in Central Point. It's probably I've heard about that just in the last month. That's a real challenge to both get it started, get the kids coming there, and recruiting sponsors that can appropriately support that network. How does your program interface with the youth community?
So this is huge, and one of the the community partners that we work with closely, I mentioned already, is Hearts with a Mission. And they're working with young people 17 to 22 who have aged out of the foster care system. They are a huge detriment that they could fall between the cracks. And so we're looking at ways that we can, and we met with law enforcement recently and said, why is DARE not in the schools anymore, and bringing it back? So we need to prevention is crisis, so we need to prevent this from happening in the first place, but already at 12 and 13-year-olds are vaping and smoking marijuana. I mean, it's just a start, so that's huge, but Recovery Cafe has some other information.
So, there's a couple things. Recovery Cafe, the basic model is for 18 over. And the reason why is because we want everybody who needs Recovery Cafe to be able to come in. And it's really important to separate kids from some of our members who quite possibly are not allowed to be around the kids. But there is another model that they're starting while we are close to our general membership, where we could be open to have some recovery circles for kids. And I'm in talks with a principal who really wants to participate in that. Also, there's a new recovery high school, what do they call it, sober? I can't remember, but there's one that's opening in the Medford area. And I already am in talks with them to maybe have a satellite campus, once again, in the Recovery Cafe space when we are not open to our general membership. So we are thinking about these things. I don't have any solid plans at this point yet. I'm just trying to get our doors open first, but it's definitely on my radar, along with support for families who may not have addiction problems or that trauma problems themselves, but have family members that do.
Thank you for bringing Al-Anon back, and we would love to get that information for our community resource list. And I think making connections between the potential high school and your program.
And I'm gonna stop and end it, just say, this is what they do the best, is they listen to see what the needs are in the community, and they're a one-stop shop. An example, I brought the PATH agenda from the meeting that I went to on Tuesday. And of course, they have committees, they have an outreach operation, they have a mental health and addiction They have a housing and location, which I will add in the next year. And starting in May, we actually have 2 projects, low income housing, that should be breaking ground. One for a 660 unit, I think on Allen Creek, and one for another 55 unit out by the hospital. So those things take years. They take years to get together. So when they happen and they start breaking ground, and Amber, who is the guru of housing at the city, has all that information, and she works on it in the background all the time, but you just don't see it. You don't see the work until 2 years later, and then it takes 2 years to build. But we do have, so that's like over 100 units for low income housing that will become available in the next 2 years from now, because they're breaking ground in May. So there are some things on the horizon, and that's huge. And of course, we've got the veterans housing coming available as well, and there are a few others. I'm going to tell you here as soon as I get to the bottom. And then this is the speakers they had on Thursday is they had All Care Help. And what are some grant opportunities that are available through All Care? So they told about the open dates for all of the people that were there. A lot of organizations. And then we had the U-Turn for Christ people on the Built from Zero initiative, and how that's another national group that's trying to get together and have some sort of a navigation center. So anything that's on the horizon, they pull in speakers so they can talk about it. And then these community partners are always there. Mint is always there every month. Cassie was there just yesterday talking, and I had heard a rumor that Mint was not able to get the money to keep their site, and she affirmed with me that they did it, that they got it. So that's huge. And I know you said yes. So they got it, so that's huge. And there's also on the Your Path site, they also show the Amazon list, the wish list, and Cassie said she'll keep that up to date if people want to donate. And you can have it sent there. You don't have to send it to your house. You can just get on Amazon, buy something, and have it delivered. So I got it, Now that is in hand, so all of them. So the next date is March 25th, 3:30. And it's at the Grants Pass City Council Chamber. So it's important, it's great. So now I'm gonna start with homestay. Isn't it convenient? And that's part of the reason why I'm on my. So I went to Pell's this last weekend up in Seattle, and that's president-elect training for this coming year, because I'm going to be the one, and I'm so excited for Jennifer coming after, because she will be so good at this. And I come away from that, and I was so proud of our Rotary. I learned so much about Rotary. It is a well-oiled machine, and it's only gotten more well-oiled through time. So all of those things that I kind of sat in the background, I didn't really know, I learned a lot of those, and I took classes. They have classes for professional development. Anybody can go on, set up at myrotary.org and set yourself up a place, and you can take all these professional development classes. They had classes that you had to take before you went to Pell's, and I did, and they were good classes, and then they just reinforced everything when I got up there. I met wonderful people. There were more than 500 president-elects from British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. Who knew Northern California was in our district? Who knew Klamath Falls was in our district? I mean, I learned so much. I had no idea. And what the fun day, Thursday, when we first got into town, and I wasn't there because I was lazy and went to my room, but there are so many people that are from Canada that was amazing. And so, of course, you know right now how Canadians are feeling. Well, they went to the bar, this is in Seattle, on Thursday night, and they had that Canadian the Canadian game between USA and Canada. Well, it was to the very end, and at the last minute, Canada won the game, and that place went, I tell you, those Canadians are party people. Woo! They went crazy. But the best part of all is the Americans got up and started singing "Oh Canada." And it was just like, oh, and as our speaker said, there are no borders. There are no borders. So anyway, I am grateful for this group. I am grateful for the people who have set up and this. So I want you to think about, what are you grateful for in this community? March 15th, I think I have the whole time to talk about what I learned at Pell's and kind of look at, our future and what sorts of things we want to get moving on and doing. But I mean, we do so many wonderful things right now. I would like to have happy bucks. I'm going to throw in 5 happy bucks for 5 happy bucks for all one vote. And now I'm going to look for other people who have happy bucks to give.
Well, I've had horses, ever since I was about 3 years old. Love my horses, everybody knows that. I just less than 2 weeks ago got myself a cute little Jack dog. He is adorable and my husband loves him. He took his friends out to go pet the dog. So I thought that was good. And I'm real proud about the fact that I was just inducted or sworn in as the first vice president of the Oregon Association of Mounted Posses this last weekend. Next year I will be president and 2027, I will be having a convention here in Grants Pass, so I will be asking for lots of help and suggestions, so thank you guys.
And you know you're in our place.
I think I'm next. I got it. Excuse me. So, KLBI is doing something new that I wanted to share with you all. Excuse me. A lot of people right now are struggling with anxiety, depression, fear about what's happening in the country or the future. And we are recognizing that, and we're gonna launch a new initiative next week. It's called Tomorrow Needs You. It is about suicide prevention and mental health. And who do we know in this club who's always the first one to step up and talk about mental health? Steve Rowe. And Steve is one of our biggest sponsors of this initiative that starts next week. So we are kicking this off Monday night. There's going to be an interview in our 6 p.m. news. But next week on Wednesday and Thursday nights, March 3rd and 4th, Steve Rowe will be in our news with a very personal interview with Craig Smallin. He talks about his own struggles and what he's done to overcome them and ideas for helping others. So I hope you'll all tune in next week and watch that, and maybe just join me in thanking Steve for always being on the forefront.
All right, we have Russ, I'm gonna jump on the Steve Rowe party van here. Steve has donated money for us to have a party over at the Weekend Brewery. So anybody that wants to join that social planning, get in touch with me or Margaret. So Margaret has been the first person to say she can start doing some things. So put that on your calendar. Second thing, Doug and Tommy. Because Doug, you're talking about the forestry plan, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do, since I turned 73 this year, I'm gonna make a $300 gift toward that. Because Tommy gave me that idea last year when she used the IRA transfer opportunity to save taxes, et cetera. My dad started me planting trees when I was in elementary school. I got out of doing dishes in the house and I went out and played in the mud with boots on, and I never stopped since. He's continued to plant trees his entire life. And as of 15 years ago, we converted about 450 acres of land to a forest management plan, thanks to all the trees he planted. So Nelson Henderson's quote, "The true meaning of life is planting trees in whose shade we do not expect to sit." And that goes back to Steve because he is behind the hearth, and that was kind of.
Stop it or pay $400.
Okay, well, I have a donation for this wonderful group path. I love this. And for the Recovery Cafe, both just wonderful. Also, I'm so proud that Mint is buying the building.
So when if we're going to stop sign, wherever. Great. And if I take long enough to think of. We're not even seeing the last time. Originally was gonna pick bright flashing red light, it got complicated.
One of the things that I'm involved with is the therapy dog program at Sunday. And I've been doing it on my own, there's been one other dog, but they've expanded it now, so they're gonna now recognize therapy dogs at all 3 hospitals. Grants Pass, Ashland, and Medford. And the name of this program is More Paws, More Hope. And so I presently visit behavioral health unit, stroke rehab, as well as pediatrics on a regular basis. We'll be there tomorrow, and it's a really, dogs play a special role in mental health treatment. Great for me.
Okay, I got a happy buck, or some happy bucks. This past week, Bev and I got to go to Forest Grove where our daughter bought a house, and so very proud that she bought a house with me. But I had the pleasure of doing a lot of demo, ripping shit apart, making just a bloody mess, and then walking away from it all and not being responsible. Fixing or finishing anything, it was just lovely.
Because we just got information from insurance that we have to cut all our trees around the house.
Sad, but we'll just have a whole bunch of something in happy bucks.
I've got happy bucks. And I'll talk fast, I talk really fast. My happy bucks are for being a part of this club. I'm just so proud of the work that we do together, and it was a great honor to run my very first meeting, so I'm gonna put some happy bucks in for that. Happy bucks for my friends being here from Pacific Aviation, and of course for Steve. I often say to my husband, he's just literally the nicest man I've ever met, and he knows exactly who I'm talking about every time. And then one sad buck, I'm selling my convertible today. So thank you for the sympathy, I appreciate it. And without much further ado, to respect your time, we have card drawing coming up, and thank you, Valerie, for being our sergeant at arms. And thank you to our presenters for being here.
It is 5 of hearts. If you have the 5 of hearts, you are today's winner. Do I hear? Do I see it? Everybody look at the 5.
5 of hearts.
4 of hearts.
It rolls over, no, it rolls
We
over.
may have a carryover.
Carries over. Okay, carries over, no winner.
We have a carryover. Getting big next week, everybody here. Well, thank you again to everybody for being here. Thank you so much to our presenters. And I have a thought for the day for you all, which, my closing line on my email for the past 10 years has been the Henderson quote that you said, so I'm not gonna use that one. One that's come up quite a bit today. The right thing to do is almost always the hardest thing to do. Thank you.
And I'm so excited for you, Phil. Oh, that's, I am very much excited about it.
Comes with us.
Email or saw an email.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I'm glad to hear that. Has she talked to you about the event coordination kind of stuff? Okay, cool. Okay. I'll just see. Yeah, I'm not sure. We're gonna need, I think the pregnancy might have caught up with her on this first meeting, because there were a couple things like, okay, this is kind of in your, you could be doing this, but yeah, step up. Most of it is just communications with other groups and that kind of thing. And some of it could be, we don't know what we need until it's in front of us. It's like, oh, this should be,
What might help with me being able to help her is, if you have notes, meeting notes or anything, you can send them to me. With action items that she's supposed to do, and then I can talk to her about them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that.
I would expect that. I mean, the grace would be, yeah, I was like. Do that.